I believe that being able to build an open source project from its source code is a critical capability for exercising the rights that different open source licenses grant us. When we clone an open source project's source code and build it ourselves, we gain complete control over the project and the freedom to modify it according to our needs, preferences, and requirements. This is a fundamental difference between free and open source code and proprietary code, where users have little control over how the code works. In this video, I will cover how to build Godot from its source code. I will also explore some important concepts such as what build systems are, which build system Godot uses, and why. This will be a short tutorial for those of you who are new to building open source projects from source code and want to understand the process of building the Godot game engine from source, so you can have absolute control and exercise your rights as users. So, let's get started. To begin, we will head to the official Godot page that explains how to build the engine from source. This page provides a detailed explanation of all the necessary steps to compile Godot. If you have been searching for information on how to compile Godot yourself, this page might be your first stop. However, it's possible that the amount of information on the page has left you feeling overwhelmed and unsure about concepts like build systems and SCons, which we will discuss later. In the next section of this video, I will provide a concise summary of these details. However, I recommend that after watching this video, you visit the official Godot page to expand your knowledge and learn more. The first step in building Godot from source is obtaining the source code. This source code is a collection of files in which the Godot developers have written the engine's code. Using the SCons build system, we can use this source code to obtain the final Godot executable. To obtain the source code, we will go to the GitHub page where it is hosted. The best way to obtain this code is by cloning the repository using Git. If you're not familiar with Git or don't want to configure it at this time, don't worry. You can simply click on the green button on the GitHub page and select Download Zip to obtain the source code. In my case, I'm going to clone the repository through Git. To build Godot from source, it's essential to understand the build system used by the engine. But before delving into that, we need to understand what a build system is and how it works in relation to Godot. When we talk about building a project, we're referring to the process of translating code written in a programming language into machine executable binary files. These executable files are called binary files because the initial programming language has been converted to a sequence of bits in base 2, that is, binary base, that the computer's CPU can understand and execute. A build system is a tool or set of tools designed to automate and simplify this process. It reads the source code files, interprets them, and transforms them into executable files according to the configurations specified. The most commonly used build systems for C++ projects are Make and CMake. However, Godot uses a different system called SCons, which is an open source build tool. In the official Godot documentation, you can find an explanation of why SCons is used instead of the popular CMake. The advantages of SCons include its ability to create binaries for multiple platforms, its capacity to build several binaries for various platforms simultaneously, its robustness against potential build failures, and its ability to manage the complexity involved in building the final Godot engine. Okay, now we have a basic understanding of what a build system is, what SCons is, and why Godot uses it. The next step is to obtain SCons in our local computer. For that, you need to follow a series of steps or others depending on the operating system you use. Fortunately, in the official Godot documentation, you have a lot of detailed information about it. In my particular case, I'm using Linux right now. In the official documentation, we have a series of commands oriented to the different distributions. In my case, I'm using Linux Mint. So executing this command from Debian Ubuntu should help me install all the dependencies required to build Godot. If I keep scrolling down the documentation, I can see lots of options and details and different ways to compile the engine. Since this is a simple tutorial, I'm going to try to build Godot as easily as possible. So I'm going to run this first command in the directory where I downloaded the source code. If we have done everything correctly, SCons, the build system that Godot uses to build the executable, will take all the source code files and transform them into a program that I can open and use to create games. Once it has finished, I should be able to find the executable file in the bin folder. Now I can run it and the project manager will appear, exactly the same as if I had downloaded it directly from the web. From this point on, I could make any changes to the source code, recompile it, and get Godot with the modification I made. Of course, to do this, I will not only need a deep understanding of C++, but also how Godot works internally. In any case, I hope this basic explanation of how to build Godot from source has been useful and interesting. If so, please give me a like and consider subscribing to support the channel and see more videos like this. That's all for today. I hope you have a happy rest of your day. Goodbye.